But as LeRoux was well aware, the pharmacist's code of conduct was voluntary, not a legally binding regulation. Doctors also had ethical standards, but not every person with a license to practice medicine obeyed them. LeRoux sent representatives to the United States to recruit doctors and pharmacists who needed money and were willing to ignore ethical issues to be part of the network. The system raised the risks that a customer would get access to too many pills or to medications that were dangerous when mixed. Since repeat customers were assigned randomly to various doctors, no single doctor knew about any particular customer's purchases. The physicians were paid only when they wrote prescriptions. A doctor who reviewed a questionnaire and rejected a purchase got nothing. Consequently, an RX Limited customer was always right. Anyone who ordered pills got pills. RX Limited usually had about 5 to 10 doctors on duty every day, each approving between 50 and 300 prescriptions per day. In addition to its own marketing websites, RX Limited used marketing affiliates, paying commissions to independent marketers whose websites would splash ads for RX Limited. According to the testimony of Jonathan Wall, who helped LeRoux manage the business, people who worked in a Manila-based call center called Global iNet were essentially telemarketers who telephoned individuals who had already bought drugs from RX Limited and pushed them to buy more. A separate Manila call center, Dial Magic, handled customer complaints and questions about shipping and other matters. To manage risk, LeRoux consulted an American lawyer who knew pharmaceutical regulation. The lawyer warned him against selling any drugs on the Federal Controlled Substance Act list. That list included opioids, steroids, and other potent pharmaceuticals, as well as street drugs such as heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana, LSD, and so-called club drugs. Selling from the Controlled Substances list violated the federal narcotics laws, which gave the DEA clear jurisdiction over a case and a likely win in court. On the other hand, selling a pharmaceutical not on the controlled list without a valid prescription fell under the legal rubric of misbranding, a violation of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, enforced by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The Justice Department could seek fines or, in aggravated cases, criminal penalties, but it rarely did. U.S. attorneys had to conserve resources for hardcore crime. They were generally unwilling to spend time and effort to bring prosecutions or even civil cases against proprietors of websites that flouted FDA regulations but did not sell demonstrably dangerous opioids, which Americans held responsible for an epidemic of addiction and deaths. LeRoux followed the lawyer's advice and restricted RX Limited sales to milder pharmaceuticals. He was not motivated by concern for his customers, but rather by avoiding any activity that could give the DEA a reason to go after him. He figured he could make plenty of money selling popular uncontrolled pharmaceuticals, such as the pain relievers Tramadol, Fioricet, and Soma, Viagra, the drug that helped men maintain erections, and Propecia, which promised to slow hair loss and baldness. Tramadol, a mild opioid painkiller which won FDA approval for the U.S. market in 1995, proved to be prone to abuse and was elevated to the Controlled Substances Act list in 2014. As extra insulation from legal jeopardy, he instructed his call centers to sell pharmaceuticals only to people who lived in states that treated off-prescription sales of uncontrolled drugs as civil or administrative violations but not criminal acts. RX Limited did not fulfill prescriptions in Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Nevada, where it was a state crime to sell prescription drugs online without a visit to a doctor. He scattered his credit card processing arrangements far and wide so that no single financial institution would see the whole picture. Most were in countries not known as money-laundering havens. LeRoux's business style was a combination of what he learned working for Hofner and his own intuition. Hofner showed him focus, passion, and tenacity, but he had no need to cloak his business activities and identity. LeRoux did. He improvised a series of clever ruses that enabled him to play ghost, to vanish from the sight of routine law enforcement. These gambits weren't perfect, but they were good enough for some years until he accumulated enough wealth to buy his way out of trouble in most places. Remarkably, on his own, far from any place new economy entrepreneurs gathered to exchange ideas,